Cherith, as we looked at, it means to cut off and to cut down. It's his cherith season. Some of you are in your cherith season. God has cut you off from your job, from your family, from your health, from your success, from your wealth, from your income. God has cut you off, and he's cutting you down. Not because he is punishing you, but because he is preparing you. He is allowing you to be broken down so you can be built up as someone who is stronger and ready for the next season of life. At some point, we all get our season by the brook in Cherith. He spends his season at the brook of Cherith, and then suddenly the water that was sustaining him, it dries up. The brook dried up. We looked at how sometimes in our life, the brook dries up. The job goes away, the company flounders, the church goes woke, the spouse dies, the divorce papers are served. The city we've been living in is not governed well, so we have to move because it's not habitable for a family. The brook dried up. And so he goes from Samaria to Cherith. And then God sends him here to the woman's house in a place that is here called Zarephath. And it's in a region called Sidon. And what is happening here is separation for preparation. He's not being punished, he's being prepared. Some of you are in a season right now. You need to receive this. It feels like God is punishing you. He's not punishing you, he's preparing you. God knows that you're not ready for what is coming. So he is going to increase your resiliency and your pain tolerance and your faith, because he wants you to have a victory in the next season, so you're going to have a little preparation in this season. Well, nonetheless, he makes the journey, and this is much like Moses in Midian. We see this in Exodus 2 and 3, where God has a season of separation and then preparation for Moses. We see this in the life of a man named Joseph. In Exodus 39 through 41, there's a season where he literally goes to prison falsely accused of sexual assault. That's his season of Cherith. It's separation for preparation. It's cut off and cut down. And then God sends him to literally be a type of Jesus, ruling and reigning over the kingdom of Egypt and bringing salvation to a multitude. Well, here what we see is the word of the Lord comes to Elijah. And I just want to say this. The word of the Lord keeps coming to Elijah. And the word of the Lord is how God reveals himself. First and foremost, the word of the Lord starts with literally the word of God. And if you want to know who God is and what God says, you need to hear the word of the Lord, which means you need to study and read the word of God. But there are other ways that God speaks. I can't get into all of this, but sometimes it's an angel or a vision or a dream or a prophetic word through someone or a miracle, an angel. God has creative ways of communicating his word. And then what happens is he receives the word of God and he travels in obedience about 100 miles. Here's what I firmly believe. I believe that God is speaking a lot more than people are listening. I've heard this from Christians, dear saints that I love, like God has never spoken to me. Yes, he has. You weren't listening. You were not listening. We're going to get into this a little later, how to hear the voice of the Lord. There's a day coming up in the story of Elijah where there's earthquake and thunder, and God's not speaking in those ways, but instead with a gentle whisper, which means if he had his phone on or his TV on or his tablet on or his radio on, he would not have heard the gentle whisper of God. I believe God is speaking and people aren't listening.
Howdy, Pastor Mark here. Thanks for viewing the clip. And if you'd like the entire sermon, we've got it ready to go.